What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another reaction video here on Snyder's Inc. And today, man, I'm gonna do some binge recording, multiple videos, and I decided it was a Mr. Ballen type of day. So, what we're gonna do is for the next 3 days, you are gonna get Mr. Ballen video. Mr. Ballen, a great channel, great at doing stuff. Recommend you subscribe to him. So, what we are doing right now? Well, this is the most terrifying killer, the Jayme Closs story. Now, I've heard a bit about this case, so let's see how it goes. Are you ready? I'm ready. And we begin in 3, 2, 1.
Cases like this don't happen. Hey, what's going on, guys? Mr. Ballen here. You probably know me from TikTok. In fact, I bet there's a percentage of people that are on this YouTube video just because they watched my TikTok version of this case, the Jayme Closs case. And so thank you for making the jump. And
Jayme Closs. Close? Jayme Closs. Okay.
Watching the full version.
My apologies for getting the name wrong.
I hope you'll stick around and you'll actually subscribe to my channel, because I'm trying to make YouTube my primary medium for sharing stories with the world. It'll be much the same content that I'm putting on TikTok, scary stories, murder mysteries, unsolved stuff, spooky stuff, dark stuff, just kind of anything that's compelling. And YouTube's gonna be the place where I try to do that primarily. And so I'm already committing to doing one video on YouTube a week. I'm trying to make it 2. This is the first week I've done 2, so we'll see how it plays out. I do have 3 kids and other job responsibilities, so it's a little hard to juggle, but I love doing this stuff. So please, if you enjoy this video and you like my content, please subscribe, please stick around. So with today's case,
I recommend you guys do subscribe to his channel. The man does really good videos. I mean, he's doing really well for himself now, but still, if you haven't subscribe.
Jayme Closs case. The reason I ended up choosing this one and making a TikTok version of it, now a YouTube version of it, is actually pretty straightforward. It's because even though it's true, if you were to make a movie out of this case, the viewers wouldn't really believe it, because the perpetrator in this case has no motive and has no history of committing any crimes. I think he had a parking ticket, and he targets a child. Which, I mean, putting that all together, you don't see that. That is not a popular archetype for a movie. The idea that there are just these random, perpetrators out there just targeting random children and harming them and their families. There has to be a motive, especially when it comes to children being involved. There has to be a motive. And in this case, there really wasn't. And even the perpetrator, when he was in prison, he wrote a letter to Jayme and her surviving family members where he kind of tried to explain why he did it, but even he didn't have strong enough language to communicate what it was. He made it seem like it was pretty complicated, and even he didn't know. He just said, hey, look, I'm not a serial killer. I just had to do this, and I don't really know why. So it's just one of the more disturbing cases when you go into it knowing that this whole thing was perpetrated by someone who had no criminal history. He had no connection to the victims, except that he randomly had a chance encounter with one of them. And it just kind of happened. It's just one of those horrible things that even now, no one really understands, including the killer himself. So let's dive into it. In 2018, 21-year-old Jake Patterson is on his way to work at a cheese factory in Wisconsin. He'd only been working there for a couple.
He looks like a piece of shit. He does. Doesn't have the look of a guy who you just want to smack upside the head. Don't know why that caught my eye, but that's the first thing I noticed.
Couple of days. This is like his 3rd day on the job. He's this kind of typical guy leading a typical life in Wisconsin, and he's driving his Ford Taurus. He comes to a stop behind a school bus where middle school kids are getting on the bus. And he's sitting there and he looks up and he sees for the first time in his life a blonde-haired, green-eyed girl who ended up being 13-year-old Jayme Closs. And as he's sitting there, because this all came out in a very lengthy confession, so we have lots of details about this case. As he's sitting there watching Jayme, who again he doesn't know, get on the bus, he has this realization that she is going to be the girl that he takes. He actually says that sitting behind the wheel, he's like, I realized right then and there that she's the one I'm going to take. And so a guy with no criminal history, he's...
Why? Why did he want to take her though? Like, that's the thing that's so weird. I can't buy this guy just had this thought for no reason. This guy had a reason why he did it, right? Like, even if he won't say and he says, oh, I can't explain, this guy knows why he took a girl or wanted to take a girl. This guy knew. Weird.
Sitting there coming up with this plan of how he's going to abduct this girl. And it would come out later in his confession, which again was very lengthy, that he put a ton of effort into planning out this abduction. So let's talk about Jake's plan. He takes his father's Mossberg 12-gauge shotgun, which is a very commonly purchased weapon. He assumed that because it is, so widely purchased, it would be hard to track. Okay, so he takes his gun, takes a couple slugs, so he's got his weapon. Then he goes and purchases a balaclava, so a mask, a whole head mask from Walmart. He shaves his head, shaves his beard so that there wouldn't be any hairs, for forensic evidence at the crime scene. This is all so premeditated. He went out and purchased gloves and wiped his gloves all so they wouldn't have prints on them. He purchased steel-toed boots and dark jeans and a dark jacket in the car he was going to use because he plans on abducting Jayme, and he knew he was going to be keeping her in the trunk. He cut the cord inside of his vehicle. It was when you press this button inside the car, it would open the trunk. Basically, he didn't want any access to the trunk unless you had the key. So he cuts that cord. He disconnected the dome light inside of his Taurus, his Ford Taurus, to try to better conceal him when he's in the car. I mean, this guy, he's really thinking hard about how he's going to do this.
This guy is so thinking. This guy has so much thought out, but yet has he has intelligence and he's just not using them in any good way. He could literally be doing something to this. This man is perfectly able to plan this sumbitch thing out. Yet he can't. Ugh. Some people.
He knew he was going to go in that house, he's going to take Jayme, and he had his big plan, right? 2 separate times, Jake tried, unsuccessfully, to abduct Jayme. He drove to their house the first time, and there were cars in the driveway, so he got spooked and he leaves. He comes back, and he's about to drive up the driveway when lights come on, so he leaves again. But on October 15th, 2018, unfortunately, he was successful. It was around midnight when Jake Patterson rolls into the Closs family's driveway. The lights in his car are off, the headlights are off, and he rolls into the driveway. And inside of this very modest home, Jayme was sleeping with her dog, Molly. And Molly hears the car pull into the driveway and starts barking. Wakes up Jayme. Jayme looks out, she sees a car she doesn't recognize, it's the middle of the night, and she runs to her parents' room and she alerts her parents. Jayme's father, James, he goes to the front door with a flashlight. Meanwhile, Denise, that's Jayme's mother, and Jayme retreat into the bathroom where they shut the door. They sense that this was potentially going to be a home invasion, and certainly they were right. So they actually barricade the door with a dresser that was in there, and they get in the tub and they shut the curtains. And so James is at the front door and he watches Jake Patterson get out of his car, calmly walk up the steps to the front door. And at this time, James is thinking that perhaps this is the police. And so when Jake arrives at the door and starts banging on the door, James shines his light out through the window, kind of gets a peek at him, then moves over to the door itself where there's this little tiny window on the door. And he looks through, shining the light, and he says, "Show me your badge." And unfortunately, it was at the same time that Jake raises his shotgun and pulls the trigger, shoots right through the glass, hits James, and James dies immediately.
Oh my God. I'm okay. Okay, hold on. Just okay. Why did this guy think it was the police? Did he think the police would show up at midnight? Lights off. No indication of who they are. Nothing? Like, why would he think that it's the police? That doesn't make sense to me. But this little piece of shite just shoots the guy no reason. You couldn't have just tied them up and took the guy. You had to kill him? Why did you kill him? You didn't need to kill him. What the hell?
Back in the bathroom, Jayme would later say that when she heard that shotgun blast, that she knew that her father was dead. And I think Denise, her mother, knew that as well, because immediately Denise picks up her phone and calls 911 as she's talking to the dispatcher, who said that there were no police in the area, so further confirming that this was definitely not the police, because they didn't see that interaction at the door, they just heard it. Jake, at the front door, is trying to bust in the door. He can't do it, so he takes his shotgun, ejects a spent round, and then puts a slug through the doorknob, making it come wide open. He pushes it open, steps over the body of James, and begins to search the house. The house is empty, every door is open except one, and it's the bathroom door where Denise and Jayme are hiding in the bathroom. Jake begins to try to push the door open. He can't do it, and finally he just starts trying to smash the door in. And after 10, 15 blows, he actually managed to split the top half of the door open because the dresser was blocking the lower half. He goes into the bathroom and he rips down the shower curtain, and there is Denise bear hugging and protecting her daughter, Jayme, in the tub. Jake hands duct tape to the mother, Denise, and tells her to put duct tape over the mouth and the hands of her daughter. She refuses. She's protecting her daughter. Jake sets his shotgun down, pushes Denise aside, and does it himself. And then, after getting Jayme out of the tub, he picks his shotgun up again, aims it at the mother, turns his head, and he pulls the trigger and he kills the mother. Picks up Jayme.
Oh my God. He killed the parents. He killed the mother right in front of the girl. Oh my God. Poor girl. I mean, no matter what, that image is in her head her entire life now. Oh, man, that sucks.
She's only about 5 foot, 100 pounds, and he drags her out to his car, opens up the trunk of his Taurus, puts her in, shuts it, and he's on his way. He was in the house for a total of 4 minutes. He would say in his confession, Jake, that as he's driving away, about 20 seconds after departing the house, he saw all the cop cars coming down the road, and actually police officers would say they remembered a Taurus yielding to the police cruisers as they came in. He makes his way around them and off he goes. And Jayme would say she remembered hearing the sirens, and then they fade as they disappear. Jake would drive 70 miles to his house, where he would keep Jayme prisoner.
Can you imagine being this girl and you're in the trunk of a car and you hear police cars, you hear police sirens, and that is your one chance of hope, and they just fade away into the distance because they don't expect the car has you in it? Man. Amount of hopelessness must be shocking for her. I cannot imagine how she must be thinking and feeling. She's got to think like, that's it. That's it for me. Man.
For the next 3 months, investigators, the local population, everybody is looking for Jayme. And at the same time, I mean, people didn't have high hopes for her safe return. I mean, in the vast majority of cases like these, where a child's been abducted, unfortunately, they usually don't get home safe. And so the whole community is just devastated. This is gaining national attention. Everybody's looking for Jayme and they can't find her. The whole time, she was being held 70 miles away in Jake Patterson's cluttered, kind of crummy house that was out in the middle of the woods. When they got to his house, he burned her clothes and his gloves and the duct tape. He gave her his sister's pajamas, and then he had her go under the bed, this bed he had in the house, and he barricaded her underneath the bed. And so she had a pillow and a blanket, and she was just underneath this bed. And that was it. She basically was ignored. I mean, her captor, Jake Patterson, he puts her under the bed and he warns her, if you leave or try to escape, bad things are going to happen to you. And because she did witness him kill her parents, she knows he's capable of that, and he knows that she knows that he's capable of that. So he had this.
Yeah, I mean, I could see why she would be terrified. I mean, if you watch a person kill your parents right in front of you, he's got power over you after that, because you are not gonna want to try to mess with him, because he would just kill you in an instant. So yeah, that's a hell of a power to have over someone.
Stranglehold on her, where he basically just said, "You're staying under the bed, and don't you dare leave." And she listened, and frankly, you can't blame her, right? And so she would go stretches of 8, 10, 12 hours of laying under the bed with no food, no water, no bathroom breaks. But ultimately, she was just kind of ignored. There wasn't really a plan for what was going to happen when she got to the house. He just kind of neglected her. After 2 weeks where he was really on guard, and he told her that he was keeping a shotgun right outside her door in case anything went down with the police, when no one came looking for them, or when no one arrived at his place, he felt very confidently that he had gotten away with his crimes, to the point where he actually, Jayme would say, he started having guests over. He had friends over, and he just told her, stay in the room, don't come out. And so for 87 days, that's how it was. She just was neglected. This poor girl was underneath this bed, just wondering what the heck's going to happen, with obviously no time to grieve over the loss of her parents. Mr. Patterson, he really didn't leave the house. And when he did, I think he left one time to visit a grandparent, and he was very aggressive in warning her that he would hurt her if she tried to leave. But for the most part, he didn't leave the house. But you could tell in looking at this case that he became fairly confident that he was just going to get away with this. And so he actually applied for a job. And he left one morning to go to the interview. And it's kind of funny, in a dark way, he wrote on his, what did he write? On his application that he's an honest, hardworking guy. And under skills, he said he doesn't have much work experience, but he shows up to work and is a quick learner. And so here he goes. He goes out to just get a job and go back to normal. And when he left that morning, Jayme, who's under the bed, she's done. She's not going to be a captive anymore. And as soon as he leaves, she pushes aside the barricade of, there's some weights that were there and dressers. She pushes it all aside. She runs out. She puts on his shoes, which are too big for her. She puts them on the wrong feet. And she runs out the door. She doesn't know where she is. She doesn't know anything, but she's gone. A woman was walking her dog around 4 p.m.
Good on her for getting out of there. Like, the moment she saw a chance, okay, he's leaving, he's going to an interview, I'm out of here. I'm getting out. Good on her. Let's give it an applause. Good on her for getting out of that situation. Not letting that piece of shite get something over her and keep her captive for her life, which probably was his goal. Man got too confident. Man got confident. ego got the best of him, and I end up making it so he ended up getting arrested because the woman was able to escape. Good on her though. Good on her for getting out of there.
Her name was Jeannie Nutter, and she sees this girl, this teenager, who doesn't have a coat on, she doesn't have gloves on. It's bitterly cold. They're in the middle of Wisconsin in the wintertime. And she sees her coming towards her, and she can tell kind of instinctively that something's wrong. Okay, this is not just some nice kid coming down the road. There's an issue here. And as she got closer, and the girl said, "I'm lost. I need help. My name is Jayme." The woman, Jeannie, said that she immediately knew who it was. She lived in the area, and she had seen the posters up for Jayme. She knew exactly who she was. She gave her a big hug and held her and said, "I've got you. I'm going to take care of you." And so, holding her closely, she brings her to a nearby neighbor's house. She said, "This is Jayme Closs. We have to call the police." And they go in there, and the homeowners got their weapons out, and they guarded the door, and they huddled around Jayme while Jeannie called the police. And the police just didn't even know what to do. They were so shocked that they had found Jayme Closs that it actually took a minute for them to recognize what they were saying and how urgent it was that you come here right now, because at some point her captor, who can't be that far away, is going to recognize that she's not there anymore. And so they send the police, and luckily Jayme is brought in and is saved. Certainly not from the emotional toll, but she's physically safe. Jake comes home from his big job interview, and he sees that Jayme's gone, and he sees footsteps leaving his property in the snow, and he goes out looking for her. And just because this is the way things go sometimes, he was immediately rounded up by the police. They found his car, they found him, and as soon as he was pulled over, he didn't resist. In fact, he immediately identified himself and said that he did it. Jake Patterson was given a
That's insane. He comes back, sees her, and the first thing he does is go looking for her. He didn't try to get away. He didn't think, shit, they're gonna come looking for me. I better get out of here. Nope. Just leaves. He just goes looking for her. Like it's a lost dog. Man.
A life sentence without the opportunity for parole, so he will die in prison.
Good.
But to this day, no one really understands how this could have happened. And going back to what I said at the beginning, cases like this don't happen. There's always some reason for a crime such as this. We can't, as human beings, accept that some stranger has the ability to randomly target a child and go as far as to kill their parents in front of them and hold them hostage when they have no criminal history. There's no red flags. He happened to see her getting on a bus, and that was all he needed. I mean, how could that possibly be the case? But in this unfortunate case, it just is. So that's going to do it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this. Please hit like and subscribe.
And that is everybody for this reaction also. Hope you all enjoyed the reaction. I know I did. This case is a very unfortunate case. Thank God the girl was found alive, though. That is a good thing. We never, like Mr. Ballen said, the situation, you don't seem to find the girl alive very often, or the kid alive very often. So I'm glad this. It's one of those cases where it was the case and they did find her alive. I don't know how she's doing now. No one, I don't think I'll ever find that out. But I'm glad that she was found alive. Alrighty, if you could hit the like button and the subscribe button, I'd really appreciate it. If you comment any other videos you'd like me to react to, whether it be ghost videos, just true crime videos, anything really. I'll even do music if music is suggested.